Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for tuning in to the Tarot Tips. Today I'd like to talk about two cards that you might not be aware have something in common. And actually on the surface they look like two cards with two very different energies. And today's talk video is going to be about the Three of Swords and the Eight of Wands. The thing that they have in common is that these are the only two cards in the entire 78 card deck in the Rider-Waite-Smith, let's call it the original version of tarot, or the original 20th century version of tarot. These are the only two cards that don't have people in them. You might say, well, what about the Wheel card, or what about the Moon card? They don't have people in them. They have figures though. So let's say these are the two cards that have no people, no figures, no indication of any human or otherwise intervention. Okay, so we are going to have a visual today, so let's go to the tarot table and take a look at these two particular cards. Okay, as we look at these two cards, let's just talk about some of the obvious things. First of all, the Three of Swords is a sword card, and so therefore has to do with the element of air. Thinking, conceptualizing, understanding things. Even though there's that big fat red heart on the card, this isn't a cup card, this isn't a heart card necessarily. This is a sword card. This is a thinking and perception card. Let's go over to the Eight of Wands, the element of fire. In the way that in the Three of Swords looks all bound up and stuck like a pincushion, the Eight of Wands has a lot of freedom to it. There's a lot of ease in this card. All those wands are aiming in the right direction. Sometimes different versions of this card have the wands appear as if they've been tossed out of a bushel in the sky and they're just sort of falling freely down to the earthly plane. So on the surface, these two cards look very different, and in truth they are. You know, the Three of Swords is, I'm disappointed, I'm stuck, I'm hurt, I feel betrayed, I am extremely disappointed, things did not work out as I had hoped and planned. The Eight of Wands, on the other hand, is about go with the flow. It's very much about the universe is taking care of things, just either get out of the way or get on the train in the direction that things seem to want to be happening and take yourself out of the picture. And that last comment is really the essence of what these cards have in common. Because there are no people, no figures in both of these cards, I always think of these two as, even though, especially with that Three of Swords, it feels personal, that these cards are not about how this affect, how that something is in, let me start again. Both of these cards are in a place where what is happening is not personal. So let's go to the Three of Swords. I'm going to adjust that a little bit because we're having a very sunny day here in Maine today, and that shadow is falling in an interesting way across that card. Let's see. It's worse, actually. Go like that. Okay, Three of Swords. It's probably many of your least favorite cards. Many of you probably are cringe at the sight of this card, and certainly it is not a happy card. But essentially the Three of Swords says things did not work out as I planned, as I perceived, as my swords told me things were going to go, as my mind expected something to unfold. So we're stuck. We're left with the fly in the ointment. You know, what is intrinsically the problem here that made whatever situation impossible to go any further? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a physical issue, whether it's a work situation, whatever it is, Three of Swords says it was never going to really get off the ground. And that has nothing to do with anything other than the basic natural way that the situation is. Again, impersonal. So even though this can be a very almost debilitating card, and it does affect us personally, the card indicates, I think both in its nature as well as by the fact that there aren't any figures or people in it, that it is what it is, kind of a card, even though we probably don't like it. So whatever is happening has an intrinsic flaw that was going to prevent full development of the situation, dynamic, whatever. Okay, so we have to recognize that, sit with that for a little bit, and then reassess, adjust our plans, adjust our mindsets, because something as it was going to be impossible to fulfill. The other side of the coin here is this Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands, again, no people, no figures, and essentially the universe is taking care of it. Whatever word you like for that guiding larger force, the universe, God, the force, whatever it is, the force is lined up here, and the force is all moving in one direction with ease, with comfort, and also with rapidity. Sometimes this card is called swiftness or speed. Things can happen quickly if we just kind of get in the flow of things. So, sometimes I say to people, the train is at the station. Just get on the train. You don't have to direct the train. You don't have to set the itinerary. You just have to follow the way the wind is blowing and watch and see what happens. Okay, again, impersonal, not directed, not organized, not even maybe perhaps knowing about the outcome. And that's true of both of these cards. I would say that the ultimate, destination is unknown in both of these cards. But, either one of these is a message to try to get outside of our perceptions, get outside of ourself, get outside of our own agenda, and look at the way the wind is blowing and move ourselves in that direction. Okay, so the only two cards in the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, and many others to follow, which have no people or figures, indicating an impersonal nature to the either problem or the solution at hand. All right, hope that's helpful. See you next time.